Why does the world keep turning back to Candace Owens, even when she rarely delivers on her promises of receipts? For someone balancing motherhood and public scrutiny, she often appears restless, even discontent. Tonight, the internet is stunned as the image of Owens, long seen as fearless, brutally honest, and daring enough to speak what others wouldn't, begins to unravel. What if all that boldness was part of a carefully crafted act, a performance designed to mask the real person beneath? The facade she's maintained for years now shows cracks, revealing a version of Candace Owens that might be far more complicated and human than anyone imagined. A storm of leaks, insider interviews, and behind-the-scenes revelations has peeled back the curtain on Candace Owens in ways no one anticipated, threatening to upend the carefully constructed persona she's spent years cultivating. It began subtly, cryptic posts on former Twitter accounts from verified political figures hinting, "Candace isn't who you think she is." Initially dismissed as idle gossip, everything shifted when a former Turning Point staffer launched a thread called the Candace Files, opening with a striking confession. "For 5 years, I worked directly under Candace. I thought she was fighting for truth, but she was fighting for herself." Within hours, millions had seen it. What followed was a torrent of screenshots, emails, and voice recordings that challenged everything the public believed. One leaked audio clip, with a voice unmistakably hers, declared, "You don't win this game by telling the truth. You win by controlling it." Chaos erupted online as the myth of Candace Owens collided with the emerging reality. Was it real or doctored? Even her staunchest supporters were left speechless. One viral tweet captured the collective shock. If that was truly her voice, then everything she had ever said suddenly felt meaningless. Then the photos emerged, leaked anonymously by insiders, showing Candace meeting privately with the same media executives she had publicly condemned for corruption and censorship. One caption read, "She said she was exposing them. She was working with them." By morning, #CandaceLeak had exploded across social media. TikTok was awash with side-by-side clips contrasting her public speeches with private texts, revealing stark contradictions. One moment she lambasted Hollywood elites, the next she thanked them for safeguarding a sponsorship deal. The narrative darkened further when an alleged hacker released internal communications from one of her companies, including a chilling memo titled "The Firestorm Cycle." Stage outrage. Escalate it. Monetize it. Pivot to victimhood. Repeat. Suddenly, the woman who had built her fame denouncing manufactured outrage appeared to be orchestrating one herself. The real shock came when her former assistant posted a tearful video claiming she had witnessed years of calculated manipulation, feuds, viral moments, even emotional breakdowns, all designed to maintain relevancy, revealing a version of Candace that seemingly believed little of what she proclaimed. Fans were left questioning everything. Was it all an act? Then, amid the chaos, Candace responded, denial or confirmation, but with a cryptic post that sent chills. "You think you know me? You only know the character they wanted you to see." Millions engaged, some reading it as admission, others as warning. One thing was undeniable. The real Candace Owens was emerging from behind the curtain, and what people saw beneath it was far darker than anyone had imagined. An empire possibly built on manipulation, betrayal, and meticulously crafted illusions. So, who is Candace Owens when the cameras are off, and why are former staffers and political insiders suddenly risking everything to reveal her true self? To understand the unraveling, we have to rewind to the beginning, long before viral debates, before Turning Point, before she became the rebel darling of modern politics. Back then, Candace was a struggling entrepreneur in her early 20s, running a tech startup aimed at combating online bullying, a mission that seemed noble, even visionary. But leaks of internal emails showed her threatening to publicly destroy critics, and the project collapsed, sending her into a media hiatus. When she returned, she was unrecognizable, fierce, sharp, and perfectly attuned to the growing currents of online outrage. Her YouTube videos dissecting liberal hypocrisy went viral almost instantly, catapulting her to the forefront of conservative media alongside figures like Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, and Tucker Carlson. Yet, the meteoric rise wasn't organic. It was meticulously engineered. Newly surfaced 2016 emails reveal conversations between Candace and a marketing executive plotting her rebranding. One message, allegedly penned by Candace, reads, "Authenticity sells. People love raw emotion. The trick is to make it look unrehearsed while hitting every talking point." That illusion of spontaneity became her signature, transforming her from a failed entrepreneur into a political powerhouse, her persona polished, precise, and undeniably magnetic. But now, in the wake of recent leaks and the Firestorm files, the carefully constructed facade is beginning to crack. Candace Owens built her brand as the fearless outsider, the fearless voice confronting corruption, elitism, and groupthink. But behind the curtain, a far darker reality was taking shape. Insiders now reveal that even at the peak of her fame, her relationships with allies were fraying. Former staffers paint a picture of brilliance laced with manipulation, a strategist who orchestrated conflict to keep herself in the spotlight. One ex-employee told Rolling Stone, "Every feud was planned weeks in advance. Nothing was spontaneous. Not a single tweet, not a single rant. That's the most shocking part." Newly leaked documents suggest her team ran a full-fledged content calendar for outrage, deciding what she would say, who she would target, how long each feud should burn, and the exact moment to pivot into victimhood. One memo, titled Cycle 7, Controlled Chaos, detailed the choreography of a major clash with a fellow conservative pundit, mapping out both sides of the argument before a single post went live. In other words, the drama, the viral posts, the scathing clapbacks, the tearful Instagram confessions was not real. It was all meticulously scripted, a masterclass in manufactured controversy. And yet it worked every single time. Audiences bought into the performance, flooding comments with praise, driving donations, and sending YouTube views through the roof. Candace had perfected the cycle. Outrage, conflict, and redemption became her signature formula. Then came the turning point era, where she partnered with Charlie Kirk, positioning herself as the intellectual force of young conservatism. Together, they dominated campus tours, delivered incendiary speeches, and made headlines with ease. Publicly, an unstoppable pair, privately a partnership on the rocks. Leaked texts reveal Candace already scheming her next step. "Charlie's useful, but this can't be his show forever. People listen to me now. When I go solo, I take the audience with me." Within months, her solo career skyrocketed. Podcasts launched, book deals signed, alliances forged with celebrities, billionaires, and politicians. Her name became shorthand for fearless truth-telling, yet the emerging evidence paints a different picture. A private email to a sponsor read, "Your controversy sales are impressive. Every time your name trends, our numbers double." Fearless and spontaneous? Or meticulously calculated? The line between authenticity and strategy was starting to blur. As the backlash intensified, Candace Owens didn't step back. She leaned in, each scandal seemingly engineered to catapult her further into the spotlight. With every viral headline, her influence and ego swelled, but those closest to her saw a darker pattern emerge: paranoia. Former producers recall her demanding staff hand over their phones before meetings, whispering about unseen traitors collecting dirt, and once warning, "If I ever go down, I'm taking everyone with me." Ironically, that prophecy now feels prophetic. The current wave of leaks, files, emails, and recordings isn't coming from enemies. It's coming from the very people who helped build her empire. One insider, known only as M, admitted she underestimated the loyalty of those quietly keeping records. Those documents, now collectively dubbed the Candace Archive, are at the heart of the global storm, revealing details far beyond media manipulation, private deals, secret meetings, and shocking evidence that her most famous controversies weren't spontaneous acts of truth-telling, but commissioned campaigns. The emerging picture is stark. The persona of Candace Owens, the unfiltered truth-teller who defies the powerful, may be the most carefully constructed performance of a generation. And if the whispers are accurate, her own mantra, "You don't win this game by telling the truth. You win by controlling it," could become the very sentence that ends her career. The cracks didn't start from critics, they came from within. At first, Candace dismissed the leaks as background noise, joking in interviews and posting memes mocking fake news and bored interns. But within days, the tone shifted. The leaks were no longer vague hints, they were precise, damning, and impossible to ignore. The leaks were precise, detailed, time-stamped, and backed by irrefutable receipts. The first bombshell emerged from Candace Owens' own company, Blexit Media, an email chain titled Cycle 12, Polarized to Profit. It outlined a calculated campaign where Candace would publicly clash with a prominent conservative figure, only to later reconcile on her podcast under the guise of forgiveness and free speech. The shocking part: both sides were in on it. One message, allegedly from Candace herself, instructed, "Make sure he gets the script before the segment. We need his outrage to feel real." Fans who had long admired her courage and authenticity now saw a master manipulator orchestrating conflict for clicks and cash. The revelations deepened when a private Zoom recording surfaced, capturing Candace's cold, detached voice, far removed from the fiery persona on camera. "We don't sell truth. We sell conviction. The truth changes. Conviction doesn't," she told her top staff. The clip spread like wildfire, racking up over 50 million views in hours, signaling the beginning of her empire's unraveling. Conservative allies distanced themselves. Influencers once echoing her talking points began labeling her a brand rather than a believer. Even Charlie Kirk, who once hailed her as the most courageous voice of their generation, unfollowed her publicly. And then came the twist no one predicted. A former producer, known only as June, revealed she had been forced to sign NDAs after witnessing illegal coordination between political donors and Candace's media operations. According to June, donors weren't paying for opinions, they were paying for targets. Every feud, every viral tweet, every manufactured controversy followed a preordained plan outlined in encrypted spreadsheets labeled influence map. Often, Candace didn't even believe the words she was amplifying. The illusion of spontaneity, bravery, and unfiltered truth was collapsing, revealing a carefully engineered machine of power, influence, and profit. The files revealed a chilling pattern. Every controversy Candace Owens engaged in was meticulously treated like a marketing campaign, complete with targets, engagement projections, anticipated backlash, and revenue forecasts. Her defining battles, the moments that cemented her reputation, were carefully scripted performances. Then the story darkened further. An anonymous whistleblower released a folder labeled Owens Internal Audio, containing 10 private recordings between Candace and her then-husband, George Farmer. In one clip, she reportedly warned, "If they ever find out where the money really came from, it's over. The donors can't be exposed. They'll turn on us before they protect me." This wasn't about sponsorships, it was about undisclosed political donors. Within hours, journalists traced connections between Candace's operations and offshore companies in Malta and Luxembourg tied to hidden media contracts. Soon after, an email allegedly from one of these accounts landed in her inbox with the subject line, "The next phase begins," outlining 3 public figures who coincidentally became her next targets. The evidence mounted, portraying a woman who had converted political chaos into a multi-million-dollar machine. When Candace finally responded, it was not with calm defiance but fury, a live stream with wide eyes and clenched jaw, shouting, "You people are so gullible. Anyone can fake an email. Anyone can splice audio. This isn't journalism. It's psychological warfare." Yet her outburst only fueled the fire, as clips of her own words, "We don't sell truth. We sell conviction," went viral on TikTok. And just when it seemed her empire couldn't crumble further, The Atlantic published a bombshell. The leaks weren't from a disgruntled ex-employee, but her current communications director, quietly documenting her every move for nearly 2 years. A source inside her office remarked, "She's not paranoid. People really are out to get her, but they're all people she trained herself." The poetic irony of Candace Owens' empire being dismantled by her own protege was brutal, cinematic, and unmistakably final. For years, Candace Owens thrived on being the loudest voice in every room, but for the first time, her own team had found a voice louder than hers. Staff members walked out in waves, sponsors pulled their support, bookstores yanked her titles, and podcast networks removed her episodes. Alone in front of a blank camera, her once commanding presence wavered as she whispered, "I built this world, and now it's eating me alive." The clip, intended for her inner circle, leaked within hours, leaving the public to wonder not just how her empire had crumbled, but who had delivered the final blow. Betrayal, recordings, and leaked messages had already reduced her public image to rubble, but the true escalation was yet to come. It began with an anonymous post on an encrypted forum titled The Real Candace Files, authored by someone claiming to be a former political consultant who had operated behind the scenes for multiple high-profile media figures, including Candace. The post read like a manifesto, detailed, precise, and seething with insight. One line cut through it all: Candace Owens wasn't the mastermind. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. The empire's collapse wasn't just her downfall, it was the exposure of the hidden hands that had been guiding it all along. She had become the product. Within minutes, the post went viral, spreading across Reddit threads, Telegram groups, and Twitter, igniting a wave of disbelief and demands for evidence. The anonymous whistleblower answered, attaching 3 files: blueprint_208, PDF, donor matrix, XLS, and audio_truthed, MP3. The first, the blueprint, was a marketing document allegedly produced by a DC media firm that had secretly partnered with Candace at the outset of her career. It outlined with chilling precision how to manufacture influence, craft a polarizing persona, align ideological allies to generate independent credibility, and turn every controversy into a monetized drama through a staged victim narrative. At the bottom, in bold red letters, it read, Owens' model projected lifespan: 8 years, a stark confirmation that her rise wasn't organic. She had been built, engineered, launched, and funded like a calculated political experiment. The second file, the donor matrix, was even more damning, listing anonymous financial backers identified by code names like A1, R3, and K2, hinting at a web of hidden patrons fueling her ascent behind the scenes. Next to the coded donor names were dollar amounts and campaign labels, but one note in the corner spelled it out: Influencer Payment Pipeline, Owens Tier 1 Unfiltered Authenticity Campaign. Over $1.14 million flowed through these accounts. The whistleblower insisted these weren't just donors, they were handlers, orchestrating who Candace targeted, which truths she shared, and which scandals she conveniently ignored. The third file, the audio, delivered the most shocking blow. It captured a phone conversation between Candace and an unidentified male voice. Her tone was uncharacteristically cautious, almost fearful. "Man, stick to the script this week. The Owens persona needs discipline. People are asking too many questions. Give them a distraction. Attack someone safe, someone we can control." When she asked, "And what if I don't?" the voice chillingly replied, "Then we end the show." That single line, "Then we end the show," exploded across TikTok, looping over eerie music, becoming a viral soundbite, a meme, and a haunting emblem of control. Beneath the humor, the fear was real. If authentic, it revealed that Candace Owens wasn't just a manipulator, she was being manipulated. Media outlets scrambled. CNN called it a political Frankenstein, Fox News dubbed it the Candace Conspiracy, and YouTubers uploaded exposés titled, "She Wasn't in Control." And just when the story seemed complete, the whistleblower known as Orion dropped one final bomb, a blurry 2018 whiteboard photo labeled Project Polaris, influence branding initiative, covered in names of journalists, politicians, and influencers connected by arrows, with Candace's name dead center, circled in red, a chilling confirmation that the persona the world knew had been engineered from the very start. That was when the full scope of the nightmare hit. Candace wasn't alone. According to Orion, 5 other public figures had been constructed using the same blueprint. Their names were redacted, but the initials MB, DR, JW, CK, and EK set off immediate speculation. Michelle, Drake, Jaguar, right? Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk. The internet erupted. Could Project Polaris be real? Were these seemingly unrelated controversies actually threads in a single, sprawling manipulation network? Amid the chaos, Candace resurfaced after weeks of silence in a shaky, dimly lit video shot on what appeared to be a burner phone. Pale and subdued, she whispered, "You think I'm evil? You think I did this to you? I wasn't the one pulling the strings. They built me, and when I stopped playing the part, they turned on me." The leaks aren't fake. They're warnings. The clip vanished 20 minutes later. Her team denied its authenticity, claiming a hack, but sleuths confirmed the backdrop matched an Airbnb she had rented just 2 days prior. Then, a cryptic post appeared on the same forum Orion had used, this time signed, declaring, "Now she's next," accompanied by a file labeled Owens_termination docs. Inside, a single line chilled viewers to the bone. Deactivation approved. Arunin, October 17, 2025. Social media erupted. Panic swept across feeds. Twitter lit up with #deactivation day. Was it a threat, a warning, or a countdown to catastrophe? The world didn't know, and the fear of what was coming only intensified. TikTok creators began posting tearful videos, swearing that if Candace vanished on that date, it would confirm everything was real. The world had turned upside down. Overnight, Candace Owens was no longer seen purely as the manipulator. She had become the manipulated, a prisoner of the very machine she helped construct. And through the noise of theories and panic, one haunting question echoed: if she didn't create the deception, who did? Because if Project Polaris truly existed, its architects were still out there, watching, pulling strings, and counting down to October 17th. When the story broke in full, the world awoke to chaos. They built her dominated headlines, echoing across every platform. News networks scrambled for airtime, analysts shouted over each other, and no one, despite all their confidence, had seen this coming. The public's reaction was not merely outrage. It was hysteria. The hashtag Project Polaris surpassed 2 billion views in a single day. TikTok became a digital autopsy, flooded with charts connecting Candace's feuds to political turning points and overlays of her leaked voice notes instructing her to stick to the script. One viral analyst called the Polaris blueprint not a media manipulation, but a social engineering experiment, a phrase that sent shivers through millions. Yet the frenzy wasn't only intellectual, it was emotional. Fans who had worshipped Candace felt gutted, as though their trust had been weaponized against them. "We didn't just lose a voice," one viral tweet read. "We lost our reflection. They made us believe rebellion was free thought, but it was choreography." Celebrities joined the storm. Meek Mill tweeted, "So outrage was the product. Makes sense now." Erykah Badu posted cryptically, "Some of us knew the song was written before the singer." And Kanye West, whose history with Candace was a saga of alliance and feud, dropped a midnight post that read, "They tried it with me too. I broke the system before it broke me." Chaos had never sounded so prophetic. Every major figure weighed in, and every statement fanned the flames. Mainstream networks scrambled to control the story, but their specials only intensified the frenzy. CNN aired a 90-minute segment titled, "Who Built Candace Owens?" while Fox countered with The Puppet and The Puppeteers. Independent journalists launched their own probes, cross-referencing donor lists, media contracts, and foundation records, and what they uncovered made the scandal even more sinister. A former Turning Point accountant leaked a spreadsheet showing consulting payments routed through 2 shell companies matching the donor codes from the Polaris files. Slack messages from Candace's old team surfaced, one reading, "The boss wants a trial run. Let's see how the outrage algorithm reacts." Suddenly, it wasn't just politics, it was psychological warfare. Experts appeared on talk shows warning that Project Polaris, if real, may have systematically manipulated millions through engineered cycles of outrage, turning human emotion into an industry with Candace as its face. Social media companies denied involvement, yet whistleblowers suggested that data from her viral content had been used for sentiment modeling. Silicon Valley insiders scrambled, erasing LinkedIn pages and press releases, while politicians called for hearings. One senator compared the revelations to Watergate, but this time, the microphones were in our pockets. Meanwhile, donors tied to the original files quietly funneled money offshore, one muttering to reporters, "It wasn't supposed to get out. She was supposed to keep playing her part." And just as the public tried to catch its breath, a Reddit post claimed to have traced Orion, the whistleblower, back to a cybersecurity firm that had managed campaign data for multiple political operations. Though the post was quickly deleted, screenshots went viral, sparking a new wave of speculation. Was Orion a vengeful insider or another layer of the manipulation, feeding the public yet another illusion? Amid the chaos, Candace Owens herself vanished from the digital world. Her verified accounts went dark, her website redirected, and an eerie silence settled, leaving the world to wonder who, or what, was truly orchestrating the final act. Candace Owens' entire digital presence seemed to vanish overnight. Her website displayed nothing but a white screen with the words "Under Reconstruction" in stark black text. Sponsors rapidly cut ties, her show was yanked from every streaming platform, and her network issued a cold, cryptic statement: "We are investigating unauthorized tampering." But the message did little to calm the storm, because hours later, a grainy video surfaced on encrypted forums. It showed Candace, disheveled and pale, sitting against a blank wall. The clip lasted only 8 seconds. In a trembling whisper, she said, "They said they'd deactivate me on the 17th. Don't believe what comes next." Then the footage cut to black. The date, October 17th, flashed like a curse across every social feed. Though journalists couldn't verify the source, panic spread like wildfire. Comment sections flooded with messages. "She's alive. They're going to erase her. This isn't over." Inside Washington, things turned darker. A leaked memo from a federal communications agency quietly admitted that Project Polaris was now a matter of national concern. The document, stamped classified, warned of potential mass public destabilization from the exposure of large-scale psychological influence operations. In plain terms, the government was terrified, not of Candace Owens herself, but of what her creation exposed. By nightfall, hysteria had taken over. Protesters filled the streets outside media headquarters chanting, "We are not products," while live streamers documented the chaos for millions watching online. Meanwhile, anonymous hacker collectives threatened to release the remaining Polaris archives unless the truth was made public.